What up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Cardinal Red, and we back for some more of that Ali Land boxing talk, people. And today we talking Manny Pacquiao, Fighter of the Decade breakdown. Alright, you guys, so sorry for the late update or late post, on this topic. But I had a request by one of my subscribers. And matter of fact, let me give her a name, Miss Mary Chris R. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but she asked me to do a Fighter of the Decade topic video. Basically giving my Fighter of the Decade. Who do I think should be Fighter of the Decade, and do I believe that Manny Pacquiao should be the Fighter of the Decade? And if you ask me, there are only really 3 realistic names. I guess you could say 4, but really 3 realistic names that should be Fighter of this decade. And it's based off activity. It's based off of big wins. To me, it's based off of willingness to fight the best out there. And it's based off of what the fans want. So if you ask me, those 3 names would be Manny Pacquiao, number 1 to me, Canelo Alvarez, number 2, and my third choice would have to be between, I could say, Vasyl Lomachenko or, now I know this is going to be controversial, but because he hasn't been as popular as long, and maybe hasn't actually been around the full decade, but in the heavyweight, I would have to say Deontay Wilder. So if you go with those 4 names, and really one of those, Deontay Wilder, is a toss-up. I would really say Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, or Vasyl Lomachenko. And I don't know why Vasyl Lomachenko, his name is not being mentioned more as far as Fighter of the Decade goes, because he's been extremely dominant within his weight class and with the opponents that he has faced up with. Although he is kind of stuck on Top Rank Island with guys like Terrence Crawford, and he really hasn't had, to me, the best fights out there. But I think that for his dominance within those fights, even though the names that he's fighting are not the biggest names in the world, he could have picked some better opponents. But he's dominating all opponents when it comes to who he's facing off with. So I'd have to put Vasyl Lomachenko in the conversation. Now, I would say the real competition is between Canelo Alvarez and Manny Pacquiao. Only because those 2 guys have fought everybody. They've been around the whole decade. They have actually, I would have to say, those are the 2 most fan-friendly guys in the sport of boxing. Like, nobody else is as popular right now as Manny Pacquiao or Saul Canelo Alvarez. And I would have to say both guys fought Mayweather. Both guys actually lost to Mayweather. And their popularity went up even after the Mayweather fight, So I would have to say, and for the fact that I'm not understanding why people are putting Floyd Mayweather even in the conversation. He's only been around for about half of the decade as far as being an active fighter. He hasn't fought the best competition. He's fought in 2 MMA fighters in the boxing ring, which doesn't make any sense. So I can't even put Floyd Mayweather in the conversation. Me personally, it's only between those 2 guys. If you're picking the 2 best boxers from 2010 to 2020, there's only 2 names. There's only Manny Pacquiao. There's only Saul Canelo Alvarez. And the only reason I'm going to pick Manny Pacquiao over Saul Canelo Alvarez is because I think Manny Pacquiao has once again changed the sport of boxing. He's and I'm not going to say he's the only person to have done this, but for him to be 40 years old and dominating young fighters, not just beating them, barely, or not just surviving and winning a controversial decision, but knocking these guys to the floor and pretty much all around dominating guys that are nearly, 15 years younger than him. I think that's a game changer within the sport of boxing because you don't find too many older men in the sport or women who can have that type of longevity, who can actually be active at that age, who have the dedication to the sport to actually train that hard to still be dominant within the sport. I think that's a game changer. So the only reason I will give it to Manny Pacquiao, not just because I'm a Pacquiao fan, but because he did something game changing. He is the most dominant fighter right now at 40 years old. You can't say that he is not walking through his competition at 40 years of age. Because if we were talking about a guy that was 28, 29, 30 years of age, they would be saying Manny Pacquiao is the best fighter in the sport, hands down. He is the greatest right now. I think the only reason that some people don't give him his full credit is because he is 40 years old. He's not the young guys, and a lot of people want Manny Pacquiao to just pass the torch. But if you are still that talented, you are still that dedicated to the sport, I think you deserve all the accolades that come along with that. So, yes, to me, Manny Pacquiao is the fighter of the decade from 2010 to 2020 because he has done something game-changing. He has went beyond the age that people say you're done in the sport of boxing, and he's still doing it at the highest level. So, salute to Manny Pacquiao, my fighter of the decade. Close runner-up, Saul Canelo Alvarez. My opinion. I would like to thank Miss Americas R for the great video topic. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what y'all think down below. Who's your fighter of the decade? Who do you think deserves that title? And who do you think is the most dominant fighter in the sport at the moment? Let me know down in the comment section. Once again, this is Ali Land Boxing Talk. I'm your boy Cardinal Red. Manny Pacquiao, fighter of the decade breakdown, you guys. Always stay tuned, hit that like button for me. Please subscribe. And I was checking out the Algieri fight, man. That was a pretty good fight, man. That was one of the fights that kind of started off his decade. So, you guys go back and check that fight out. Check out all the Manny Pacquiao fights from 2010 to 2020 and compare them with the Canelo Alvarez fights from 2010 to 2020. And let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. And we out of here.